Far away in the dark side of the Orion cluster, where stars flicker like dying candles, a strange signal appeared on the Galactic Council's radar. At first, no one paid much attention. The scanners were always picking up random noise from deep space, broken comets, drifting satellites, or the remains of old battles. But this one was different. The signal was strong, steady, and carried a strange rhythm, as if something alive was moving through the silence of space. A young technician was the first to notice it. He thought it was just another error, but when he zoomed in on the readings, his hands froze. The object wasn't natural. It was metallic, structured, and enormous, bigger than any known ship in the galaxy. When he enhanced the image, he saw markings on the hull that made his heart race. They were in an ancient language once known to the Council, a language that had disappeared from records long ago. The markings read, Horizon's Vow. The technician called his superior, and within minutes the signal was being examined by every major monitoring post. No one could believe what they were seeing. The energy readings were too high for any regular ship. The core power seemed to come from something far beyond current technology, something almost mythical. And then someone compared it to the old archives, and silence filled the room. It matched human engineering. For decades, the word human had been little more than a whisper in the galaxy. Long ago, humans had been a rising power, explorers who reached every corner of known space. But after a series of conflicts and political betrayals, they had withdrawn from galactic affairs, sealing their home system and vanishing into isolation. No one knew what had happened to them. Some said they destroyed themselves. Others believed they had gone beyond the stars, never to return. Whatever the truth was, the galaxy had moved on, until now. When the Council received the report, panic spread like wildfire. The Grand Chamber, a massive hall floating above the capital planet, lit up with urgent meetings. Representatives from hundreds of worlds argued over what the signal meant. Some believed it was a trap. Others thought it was just a lost relic drifting through space. But a few, the ones who remembered humanity's strength, felt an old chill return. Humanity had been dangerous, not because of their weapons, but because of their nature. They were unpredictable. They didn't surrender. They didn't break. Even when cornered, they always found a way to fight back. The thought that they might be returning terrified the Council. Reports started flooding in. The signal was getting closer, moving slowly but steadily across the dark regions of space. Every time someone tried to scan it deeply, their systems failed. The probes that got too close disappeared completely. No explosion, no trace, just gone. It was as if the ship existed in two realities at once, both visible and invisible. Inside the Council, fear grew stronger. They had ruled the galaxy for centuries under the belief that humanity was gone forever. But now that belief was breaking. Memories of past encounters with humans came back. Their courage, their strange kindness, and their terrifying willpower. Some of the elder counselors tried to calm the others, saying there was no proof that the object was human. But deep down, everyone already knew. The pattern of the hull, the energy design, even the name Horizon's Vow, it all carried the mark of Earth. Soon old historians were called to confirm the evidence. Among them was one who had studied forbidden human archives. When he saw the signal, he whispered, "They warned us they would return one day. They said when they come back it will be for a reason we cannot understand." Across the galaxy, fear turned into tension. Fleets were placed on standby. News networks whispered about the return of the silent species. Civilizations that had once fought alongside humans before the separation began sending messages of concern. And somewhere beyond the stars, the mysterious ship kept moving, unhurried, unstoppable. The technicians tried to calculate its path, and what they found was even stranger. The ship was not heading toward any major world or station. It was moving through an empty zone, a region filled with dead stars and ancient wrecks. It was as if it was avoiding attention, choosing a route no normal traveler would ever take. The Council ordered a team of advanced drones to intercept and gather closer data. The drones were built with stealth systems and advanced sensors. They approached quietly, hiding behind asteroid shadows until they were just a few thousand kilometers away from the ship. Then, without warning, all communication cut off. The drones vanished from the network as if they had never existed. The technicians stared at blank screens, speechless. The readings before the signal died showed something unbelievable. The ship had turned toward the drones as if it had seen them. But there was no attack, no weapon fire. Just a single pulse of energy like a heartbeat and then silence. By now, rumors had spread beyond the council. Traders, explorers, and even smugglers claimed they had seen a giant shadow drifting through the void. Silent and alone. Some said they heard a faint sound when it passed, a low hum like a song carried across space. Others swore it was a ghost ship, carrying the souls of humanity's lost past. But those who understood the truth knew better. The humans were alive, and they were back. Inside the council's command room, the atmosphere was thick with fear and confusion. The leaders gathered again. One of them slammed his hand on the table and shouted, "If the humans have returned, we must know their purpose. Are they here for revenge, for war, or something worse?" No one answered. The silence stretched on. Finally, the old historian spoke softly. "Humans never do something without a reason. If they've come back after all this time, it's not for destruction. It's because something is coming. Something even they fear." Those words echoed through the chamber like thunder. The council members exchanged uneasy glances. They remembered the old stories, how humans used to push farther than anyone else into places even machines couldn't survive. How they discovered things that others refused to believe. If something had brought them back, it had to be beyond imagination. Meanwhile, the ship continued its silent approach. No one dared to interfere again. The closer it came, the stronger the energy field became, distorting nearby space. Light itself seemed to bend around it. Planets within its path began to show strange gravitational ripples. Yet the ship caused no destruction. It simply passed through, calm and steady. In the observation room, one of the analysts whispered, "It's not coming for us. It's passing through us." And that realization made everyone uneasy. If the ship wasn't heading toward the council or any known colony, then where was it going? What was its purpose? Days turned into weeks and the signal kept growing stronger. The more they studied it, the more impossible it became to understand. The ship's power source didn't match any known element. Its energy core pulsed like a living heart. And somewhere deep inside its sensors picked up faint human life signs, steady, calm, unafraid. Every new reading brought more questions than answers. The council tried to send peaceful messages, hoping to make contact, but no reply ever came. The ship continued its journey, ignoring every signal, every attempt to communicate. It was as if it had a mission far more important than talking. Then one night, as the ship crossed the edge of the Perseus belt, the council's communication array received a faint static-filled transmission. The signal was weak, but one line was clear enough to freeze everyone in the room. "We see you watching. Stand down. This is not an invasion, that was all." The voice was calm, human, and certain. Then the transmission ended. The council sat in complete silence. Some wanted to believe it was a peaceful message. Others thought it was a warning. But everyone knew one thing for sure: the humans were not gone. They had been waiting, preparing, and now, for some unknown reason, they had returned, out there, beyond the shining stars and dying suns. The battleship Horizon's vow moved with quiet grace, like a giant shadow carrying the weight of forgotten promises. And while the galaxy trembled in confusion, the humans aboard it stayed silent, watching, waiting for the right moment to reveal the truth behind their return. That night, no one in the council slept. They all felt the same uneasy thought burning in their minds. Whatever brought humanity back, it's already too late to stop it. The news of the mysterious human ship spread faster than light through the galaxy. Every government, every fleet, every communication channel buzzed with one name: the humans. For many generations, the galaxy had believed they were gone forever. But now their sudden return had shaken every corner of space. The Galactic Council called an emergency session. Thousands of beings from hundreds of planets gathered inside the great silver dome that floated above the capital world. It was a place where peace treaties were made, wars were ended, and secrets were buried. But that day, peace felt far away. The air itself carried fear. The lights dimmed, and the council's high representative stood at the center platform, speaking in a trembling voice. "Reports confirm the signal came from a vessel of human origin," he said. "All attempts to communicate have failed. The ship has not responded to our probes, and any drone sent near it disappears. We must decide our next action before this becomes a threat to all of us." The chamber erupted in arguments. Some shouted that the humans were dangerous and that the ship should be destroyed before it reached any populated world. Others disagreed, warning that if humans truly had returned, attacking them could be a deadly mistake. One elder representative leaned forward and said softly, "We all know what they are capable of. If they came back after so many years, it's not to start a war. Humans don't return without a reason." The argument went on for hours. Old stories of the humans were brought up. How they built weapons that could change the shape of a planet. How they survived on worlds where no other species could breathe. How they fought even when outnumbered. But what frightened the council the most wasn't their strength, it was their spirit. Humans were unpredictable. They could be kind, gentle, and compassionate, but when cornered, they became unstoppable. While the council debated, a small team of scientists worked quietly in a lower chamber. They were studying every bit of data from the strange ship. What they discovered made their hearts pound. The ship wasn't just powerful, it was beyond understanding. Its energy readings didn't match any known pattern. Its shields bent light itself. The scientists didn't even know what its engines were made of. It was like something built for another universe. One of them whispered, "They must have found something out there. Something we can't even imagine." Above them, the debate grew louder. Some wanted to prepare fleets to show power. Others believed that humans could be reasoned with if approached peacefully. But fear made it hard to think clearly. The Council had ruled the galaxy for centuries without challenge. Now the idea that humans might return stronger than before made them panic. At the same time, in the lower sectors of the capital planet, ordinary citizens watched the news with wide eyes. Traders, miners, and families who had once heard bedtime stories about humans now saw those stories come alive. Some were curious, even hopeful. "Maybe they'll bring back the old ways," a worker said. The humans were explorers, not monsters. But others weren't so sure. "If they come back, it won't be for peace," someone else replied. "It'll be to take revenge for what we did to them." For the first time in generations, fear united the galaxy more than peace ever had. Days turned into nights and the human ship kept moving. Every system it passed through went silent for a short time, as if space itself was holding its breath. Then, once the ship was gone, the lights came back on, the planets returned to normal, and people whispered stories about the shadow that drifted through their skies. Back in the Council's command center, the most powerful minds of the galaxy gathered around a holographic map showing the ship's route. Its path seemed random at first, but one scientist pointed out that the ship was moving toward the edge of the Sagittarius sector, a region long avoided because of strange energy storms. "No one travels there," the scientist said. "It's empty space. If the humans are going there, it means they're avoiding us." That thought made everyone uneasy. If the humans weren't coming to fight, then what were they doing? The Council decided to send a small, stealthy envoy ship, unarmed and fast, to follow the human vessel from a safe distance. The mission was simple: observe, record, and report back. The envoy launched quietly into the blackness, and for a while it seemed to work. The human ship didn't react. It just continued on its path, silent and steady. But after 3 hours, all signals from the envoy stopped. The last image received showed the human ship turning slowly toward it. Then the screen went dark. The entire crew vanished without a trace. The Council was now certain they were being watched. Panic filled the chamber again. "They know we're observing them," one representative shouted. "We must prepare our defenses." But others argued that it was too soon to act. "Maybe they just want to be left alone," said another. "We provoked them first. They didn't attack anyone. They haven't destroyed anything. Still, fear has a way of spreading faster than reason." Across the galaxy, fleets began to quietly move. Weapons were armed, shields were raised, and soldiers prepared for a war no one truly wanted. But deep down, they all felt uncertain. What kind of war could they fight against a species that had outgrown their understanding? Then something strange happened. As the ship passed another uninhabited system, it suddenly slowed down. For the first time, the Council's scanners caught a clear visual. The image stunned everyone. The ship was massive, larger than any space station ever built. Its surface shimmered like liquid metal, constantly shifting and changing as if it were alive. Along its sides, symbols were carved into the hull. They were not words of war or pride, but memorial names, thousands of them. It looked less like a weapon and more like a floating monument. One of the translators whispered, "Those are names of humans who died in the old wars." The entire chamber fell silent. Suddenly, humanity didn't look like a threat. They looked like survivors. Still, fear is hard to erase. Some in the Council refused to believe the humans had changed. "It's all a trick," one said bitterly. "They want us to lower our guard. Once we do, they'll strike." But others began to see something else, an opportunity to understand what truly happened to the species that once shaped the stars. To calm the panic spreading through the galaxy, the Council decided to release a short message to the public. It said, "The object is being monitored. There is no cause for alarm." But that message did nothing to stop the rumors. Every bar, every shipyard, every spaceport buzzed with theories. Some believed the humans were returning as saviors, others as destroyers. Meanwhile, deep in the Council archives, an old historian was given access to ancient human records. Most of them had been sealed after Earth's fall. As he read through the files, he discovered something disturbing. Before humans went silent, they had warned the Council of something beyond the edge of the galaxy, something that could devour entire star systems. The Council had ignored those warnings. Soon after the humans disappeared, the historian's hands shook as he realized the pattern. They didn't vanish, he whispered to himself. They went to face it alone. He rushed to the high representatives and shared his findings. But by the time he arrived, another signal appeared on the main screen. It was from the human ship. The message was short, almost casual. "We advise no further pursuit. You are not in danger." "Not yet." Then the signal cut off. Those last two words, "not yet," echoed in every corner of the galaxy. The Council members looked at each other, their faces pale. What did it mean? What danger were the humans talking about? For the first time in centuries, the most powerful species in the galaxy realized they didn't have the answers. The humans did. In the following hours, the human ship accelerated again, heading deeper into the uncharted zone. The Council tried to follow from a distance, but the readings grew weaker until finally, the ship vanished completely. Silence filled the hall. Some said they should be relieved. Others said the silence was worse than any weapon, because somewhere out there, humans were doing something they didn't want anyone else to see. And deep inside, every being in that chamber felt the same uneasy thought. Whatever they're facing, we're part of it too. We just don't know it yet. Outside, the galaxy went on shining, unaware that something vast and unstoppable was already moving beneath its calm surface. And while others waited in fear, the humans continued their silent mission through the endless dark, working toward a truth that, when revealed, would change everything the galaxy thought it knew. The galaxy had gone quiet after the human ship disappeared beyond the edge of the Sagittarius sector. The Council had no new readings, no fresh signals, nothing but the silence of deep space. But that silence wasn't peaceful. It was heavy, filled with fear and questions that no one could answer. People across worlds kept asking the same thing. Why had humanity returned after all these years? And where had they gone now? The Council tried to calm everyone by saying the situation was under control, but no one really believed it. Deep down, everyone knew that when humans did something, it was never random. There was always a reason. In a quiet section of the capital world, an old historian sat surrounded by dusty archives. He had been researching humans for most of his life, though the topic had been forbidden for decades. When the signal first appeared, he was the only one brave enough to speak up about what he knew. And now, as the galaxy trembled in confusion, he returned to those ancient records, searching for the missing piece. The files were fragile, written in old languages, half-burned from time. But one message stood out, an old recording from before Earth went silent. A human voice, calm and clear, said, "We cannot stay. There is something coming. We must prepare even if no one believes us." The historian replayed the message again and again. Each time it made more sense. Humans hadn't vanished out of pride or fear. They had left because they had seen something coming, something too big for anyone to understand. He gathered the documents and rushed to the Council chambers. The guards almost stopped him, but when they saw the old seal of Earth on the files, they let him through. Inside, the chamber was filled with tension. Leaders from every major species were arguing again. One shouted, "The humans are gone." "Let them go. Why should we chase ghosts?" Another answered, "You fool. If they're out there facing something dangerous, we're next. We have to know what it is." The old historian stepped forward and placed the files on the table. "You're all missing the truth," he said. "Humans didn't disappear. They warned us long ago. You just didn't listen." The room went silent. He opened one of the old files, revealing holographic images of the stars near the galactic edge. Hundreds of years ago, humans discovered strange energy patterns out there. They believed it was a kind of storm, one that could destroy entire systems. They wanted to study it, but the council shut them down and banished their fleets for being too dangerous. After that, they went silent. The counselors exchanged worried glances. The idea that the humans had left to face a cosmic threat alone was both unbelievable and haunting. One of them asked, "If that's true, then why come back now?" The historian looked around the room. "Because whatever they were trying to stop is closer than we think." His words spread through the chamber like a cold wind. Every sensor team in the galaxy was ordered to rescan the outer edges of space. At first, nothing appeared. But then faint readings began to surface, strange waves of energy moving through the void, swallowing radio signals and distorting space itself. The council tried to deny it publicly, but the truth was spreading fast. Something was approaching the galaxy, something vast and unstoppable, and the humans had known about it long before anyone else. Meanwhile, deep in space, a faint transmission suddenly reached one of the council's relay stations. The voice was human, though broken by static. It said, "Stay away from the rift. It's not safe. We'll hold the line as long as we can." Then the message cut off. That single line changed everything. The council confirmed that the transmission came from the same coordinates where the horizon's vow had last been seen. The humans weren't gone. They were still out there trying to hold something back. Across the galaxy, people began to talk differently about the humans. They were no longer just legends or threats. They were something else entirely, protectors. Still, not everyone believed. Some council members insisted it was all a trick. They said humans were using fear to control the galaxy again. Others argued that it didn't matter. If there really was a danger coming, they had to act together. But the council had been divided for too long, and unity was hard to find. While leaders argued, the historian kept studying the human files. He discovered references to something called the Silent Rift. The records described it as a growing wound in space, invisible to the naked eye but strong enough to pull energy from entire star systems. It wasn't just a storm. It was alive in some strange way, feeding on gravity, light, and time itself. Humans had tried to warn the galaxy centuries ago, but no one listened. And now, it was happening again. The council finally decided to send a deep space research vessel to investigate the coordinates mentioned in the human message. The ship was equipped with the best technology from 10 different species. The crew didn't know what they were heading into, only that it was connected to the humans. For weeks, they traveled through the dark, crossing abandoned star fields and dead worlds. Then one day, their scanners picked up a faint glow in the distance. It wasn't a star, it was something else. A ripple of light twisting in slow motion, bending everything around it. When they got closer, their instruments began to malfunction. Space itself seemed unstable. They could hear faint echoes through their comms, almost like whispers. Then through the haze they saw it, the horizon's vow. It was orbiting the edge of a massive tear in space, surrounded by strange energy arcs. The ship looked damaged but still functional. Its engines glowed faintly as if holding back something unseen. The crew tried to contact it, but no reply came. So they sent a small shuttle closer. The pilot's voice trembled as he spoke. "We're approaching the human vessel. Radiation levels are high. Wait, there's movement inside. I see figures. They're working on something." Then the transmission filled with static. For a few seconds, the sound turned into a deep rhythmic pulse, like a heartbeat, and then everything went dark. The research ship vanished from sensors. When the council lost contact, panic erupted again. But the old historian didn't panic. He simply looked out at the stars and whispered, "They're still fighting it." Weeks later, strange energy waves began to appear near inhabited worlds. The skies on some planets flickered. Communication lines distorted. Scientists confirmed the energy matched the patterns found near the rift. Whatever the humans were facing was now spreading. At last, the council accepted the truth. They called another emergency meeting, but this time the tone was different. There was no pride, no arrogance, only fear and regret. A representative stood and said, "We must find them. We must help them. The humans are not our enemies, they are our only hope. But help would not be easy. The rift was too far and the humans had cut off all approach routes. No ship that entered that region ever returned. It was as if space itself swallowed everything. Still, the council began preparing fleets, gathering scientists and engineers to build ships that could survive the conditions near the rift. For the first time in generations, the galaxy united not out of greed or war, but survival, and at the heart of it all was one truth: they needed the humans. In the following months, strange messages began to appear across the galactic network. Nobody knew where they came from. They were short, scattered, and often broken by static. But one line kept repeating, "Hold your ground. When the rift opens, stay together. Do not run." It was clear now that the humans were not gone. They were still out there trying to save everyone, even those who had once turned against them. In time, the Council learned that the rift wasn't just a natural disaster, it was a doorway. A hole to another dimension where the rules of life and death were twisted. The humans had found it centuries ago and had been holding it back ever since. Now, the tier was growing again, and the humans were fighting to stop it one last time. Back in the capital, the historian stood under the vast night sky. For the first time in years, he saw a faint light flicker near the galactic edge like a heartbeat in the distance. He smiled sadly and whispered, "They never left us. They've been protecting us all along." And as the stars shimmered quietly, the galaxy began to understand something they had long forgotten. Humans weren't dangerous because of their weapons. They were dangerous because of their courage, their loyalty, and their unbreakable will to protect life, even when no one thanked them for it. The Council finally realized the truth too late. The humans hadn't come to conquer, they had come to warn, and the warning had already begun. The entire galaxy waited in silence, watching the edges of space where the human battleship Horizon's Vow had vanished. Months had passed since the last signal. No one had seen or heard anything new. But strange things were happening. Stars near the edge of the Sagittarius sector had begun to flicker, some dimming, others vanishing completely. Scientists couldn't explain it. The readings didn't match any known natural event. It was as if light itself was being eaten. Across the Council's many worlds, fear returned stronger than ever. Civilizations that once laughed at human legends now whispered their names in prayer. The Council itself was falling apart. Meetings turned into shouting matches. Some demanded that they send fleets to confront whatever was happening, while others said they should do nothing until the humans called for help. But no one knew how to reach them. Every time a ship went near the rift, it disappeared. One evening, in a quiet observatory on a moon near the capital, a young observer noticed something strange. Through the thick field of static and cosmic dust, he saw movement. He zoomed in and gasped. It was the Horizon's Vow. The massive ship was back, but it wasn't alone this time. Around it floated smaller human ships, all glowing faintly in the darkness. The formation looked like a protective wall around the rift. The observer quickly sent the data to the Council. Within hours, the chamber filled again with voices. The humans were alive and still working near the rift. That could only mean one thing. Whatever they were fighting wasn't over. The Council decided to send a coded message toward the ship, a simple transmission carried on a tight frequency. It read, "We see you. Do you need help?" Then they waited. Minutes passed. Then hours, nothing, just silence. Some thought the humans had ignored them, but then suddenly the transmission screens flickered. A voice came through, calm and steady. "We appreciate your concern, but this is not a fight you can join." Those few words stunned the Council. The voice continued, faint but clear. "The rift is unstable. We are holding it for now, but it's growing faster than expected. Stay clear of this region. Evacuation may be required if it spreads." Then the message ended. The representatives looked at each other in disbelief. For centuries, humans had been treated as reckless and unpredictable. Yet here they were, risking everything to stop a disaster that threatened everyone else. The old historian who had spent his life studying humanity sat quietly in the corner of the chamber. He smiled faintly and whispered, "They always warned us. They always cared even when we didn't." But not everyone was convinced. Some leaders thought it was a trick. One of them shouted, "They're trying to control us with fear. Maybe they caused this rift themselves." The debate grew wild, but deep down everyone knew it wasn't true. The energy readings from the rift were far beyond anything even humans could create. In the days that followed, more signs appeared across the galaxy. Gravity waves rippled through space. Communication signals began to distort. On several planets, the night skies shimmered strangely, as if invisible storms were passing through the stars. Panic spread. People fled from frontier colonies, fearing the unknown. The Council finally sent another message to the humans. This time it was not a question but a plea. Tell us what to do. How can we help? Hours later a reply came. The same calm voice spoke again, but this time there was urgency in the tone. There's nothing you can do to fight it. But you can prepare. Strengthen your planetary shields. Move your fleets closer to the inner systems. And most importantly, stop fighting each other. You'll need unity for what comes next. Those words spread through the galaxy like fire. Every broadcast station repeated them. Every citizen heard them. And for the first time in living memory, the galaxy began to listen. Rival species who had hated each other for generations began sharing resources. Old enemies met in silence, realizing that survival mattered more than pride. Meanwhile, the humans continued their lonely fight near the rift. From distant telescopes, the observers saw flashes of light, massive bursts that looked like explosions but left no debris behind. The humans were using weapons no one had ever seen before, weapons that didn't destroy but contained. It became clear that the battleship wasn't attacking. It was stabilizing the rift, preventing it from expanding. Inside the council chamber, fear slowly turned into awe. Every new report proved what few had dared to believe. Humans weren't returning as conquerors. They were guardians. They were holding the line for everyone else. Still, the question remained, how long could they hold it? Weeks later, another human transmission arrived, but this time it wasn't calm. The voice was tense, strained. The rift has changed. It's reacting to something inside. We're adjusting our systems. If you can detect the energy spikes, stay away from that sector immediately. We'll try to contain the surge. Then the transmission broke off. Moments later, every sensor across the galaxy picked up a massive energy pulse. It spread faster than light, shaking every starship and world within range. For a brief moment, all systems went dark. When power returned, half the Council's communication network was gone. The observers turned their telescopes toward the rift, but what they saw made them freeze. The horizon's vow was glowing brighter than ever, surrounded by arcs of blue lightning. Pieces of space around it seemed to twist and fold like glass under pressure. The smaller ships were moving in patterns, forming a barrier of light. It looked less like a fleet and more like a shield. Then a new message came through. One not directed at the Council, but open to every receiver in the galaxy. The voice was unmistakably human, full of calm determination. We have reached containment phase. Do not interfere. This is our responsibility. Humanity stands for life, always. The transmission ended, but those words echoed in every corner of space. On countless worlds, people gathered outside, staring at the stars, whispering the same thought. The humans hadn't come back for power. They had come back to protect everyone. In the following hours, the rift began to pulse like a living thing. Massive waves of energy rippled through the region. Even from light years away, ships could see the flash of blinding light. Then for the first time, the rift started to shrink. Slowly, painfully, but it was shrinking. The humans were winning, at least for the moment. Inside the Council, the historian stood before the others and spoke softly. This is who they are. When everyone else runs, they stand. When the universe gives up, they keep fighting. That's humanity. No one argued with him. Even those who had once doubted now watched in silence, hearts heavy with respect. But victory came with a price. As the rift began to stabilize, the signals from the human ships started to fade. Their power readings dropped one by one. Finally, only the horizon's vow remained visible. Its engines flared one last time before its light dimmed and vanished completely. The rift sealed itself, leaving behind only calm space and silence. The galaxy was safe for now. Days later, the Council received one final message. It was faint, buried in static, as if sent from a dying system. The voice was almost a whisper. If you can hear this, the rift is closed. Do not search for us. Just remember, we kept our promise, then it ended forever. No one spoke. No one moved. The chamber was silent except for the hum of the machinery. Every representative lowered their head in quiet respect. The humans were gone again, but this time, the galaxy knew what they had done. They had saved everyone. From that day forward, no one spoke of humans as a threat. Every star chart marked the edge of the rift with a simple line of text. Here stood the guardians of the void. And though the stars shone brightly once more, the galaxy could never forget the image of that single human ship, standing alone against the endless dark, proving again what made humanity different. The courage to face the impossible, not for glory, not for revenge, but for the sake of life itself. Even now, centuries later, when the night sky flickers near the galactic edge, some say it's just cosmic light. But the old ones know better. They whisper that it's not light at all. It's the echo of the horizon's vow, still guarding the stars, still keeping its silent promise to protect the galaxy it once saved. For a long time, the galaxy stayed quiet after the humans vanished. The rift was gone, the skies were calm, and there were no more strange energy readings. It almost felt like peace had finally returned. But deep inside, no one truly felt peaceful. Something was missing. Every civilization, small or mighty, knew that the silence left behind by humanity carried a heavy meaning. They had sacrificed everything. The council tried to return to normal. Trade resumed, fleets moved again, and politics restarted. But people had changed. The humans' last message still echoed everywhere. Humanity stands for life. Always. Those words became a symbol. Children on distant planets learned them in school. Soldiers painted them on their ships. Even species who once hated humans began to honor them. For the first time in galactic history, there was unity. Not through fear, but through respect. Still, the galaxy couldn't help but wonder, were the humans really gone? Or had they simply gone somewhere beyond reach? Many explorers tried to find them. Some sent drones into the old rift zone, but the drones never came back. Others tried to scan the area, but their systems glitched or shut down completely. It was as if that part of space didn't want to be touched. Scientists called it the quiet sector. No signals entered or left it, and yet sometimes, just sometimes, a faint light could be seen flickering far away, like a heartbeat in the dark. Then years later, something strange happened again. A small cargo vessel passing near the quiet sector detected a faint signal. It was weak, almost like a whisper, but it carried a human code. The pilot immediately reported it to the council. Within hours, every research station in the region focused its scanners there. The signal repeated 3 times before disappearing again. No one could decode it fully, but one line stood out. Hold the line, always. The discovery reignited the galaxy's hope. Maybe the humans were still out there watching. Maybe the horizon's vow hadn't been destroyed. It had just gone beyond the stars. The council called a meeting and decided to send a small team of scientists and diplomats to investigate, carefully this time. They didn't want to disturb whatever remained, only to understand. When the expedition ship entered the quiet sector, all readings went blank for a moment. The crew felt a strange pressure, like the universe itself was holding its breath. Then slowly the darkness cleared, and they saw something that no one could explain. Floating in the distance was not a ship, but a structure. It looked like a monument made of light, drifting among the stars. It had no solid form, only patterns of glowing energy that shifted like gentle waves. When the crew moved closer, their sensors picked up faint human signatures but no life signs. It was as if the ship had become part of the structure itself. Suddenly, the ship's radio activated by itself. A calm, recorded voice spoke through the static. "If you are hearing this, then the rift remains stable. The Guardians have completed their task. The light you see is not a warning, it is a promise. Humanity is not gone. We are only beyond." The crew sat in silence. The message repeated once more and then faded into nothing. When the team returned, they brought the recording to the council. The entire galaxy heard it. No one fully understood what beyond meant. Some said humans had found a new dimension. Others believed they had become part of the cosmic energy itself. Whatever the truth was, one thing became clear. The humans hadn't died. They had transcended. After that day, the monument became known as the Beacon of the Vow. It became a sacred place for travelers and explorers. Ships from hundreds of worlds visited it, not to study but to pay respect. Pilots often stopped their engines and floated silently for a few minutes, just to honor the ones who saved them all. Over time, the galaxy changed. Wars between empires slowed down. Old grudges faded. People started working together to build a better future. They remembered how humans had faced the impossible and survived not through power, but through courage and unity. Generations passed. The legend of the Horizon's Vow became a story told to children before they slept. But even then, new discoveries kept the mystery alive. Some explorers found ancient satellites hidden near forgotten stars. Satellites carrying human designs, still active after centuries. Their purpose was simple. They were collecting data about the stability of the galaxy as if someone somewhere was still watching. And sometimes when space storms hit, communication systems picked up brief human messages hidden in the static. They were never full sentences, just fragments like "we stand" or "light holds" or "promise kept." Every time this happened, the galaxy stopped and listened. One day, a young scientist on a small moon made an astonishing discovery. While analyzing deep space signals, she found a repeating pattern hidden inside cosmic radiation. When she decoded it, she realized it was a star map written in human code. The stars marked on it didn't match any known region. They formed a cluster far beyond the galactic border. She took her findings to the Council. After long discussions, they decided to send another expedition. This one was different. It wasn't just scientists. It included representatives from every major civilization, a symbol of unity that humanity had inspired. The journey took months. They crossed dark regions of space, passed through storms of radiation, and traveled farther than anyone had gone before. Finally, they reached the end of the map, and what they found left them speechless. Before them floated a new world. Not a planet, but a network of artificial structures orbiting a small star. The architecture was unmistakably human, strong, symmetrical, and beautiful. Energy fields covered it like gentle light. It was a living station, massive enough to hold thousands of people. But there was no movement, no signals, no signs of life. When they scanned deeper, they found something shocking. The entire structure was active, powered by unknown energy. Inside, there were thousands of preserved human forms, not dead, but sleeping. Each one was enclosed in a crystalline shell, glowing faintly, as if waiting for something. Suddenly, the ship's systems picked up a transmission. This time, the voice wasn't a recording. It was real. "Welcome, travelers. You have come far. Humanity has not vanished. We sleep until the stars are safe again." The message was calm, filled with warmth and strength. "You once feared us, but now you have learned what we tried to show. The galaxy is not a collection of empires, it is a home. Protected as we did, that is all we ever wanted." The transmission ended, and the energy field around the structure shimmered gently, like a heartbeat. The crew knew what it meant. The humans weren't gone, they were resting, waiting for the day when they would be needed again. The expedition returned with the message, and when the Council heard it, something changed forever. Humanity had become more than a species. They had become a symbol of courage, unity, and sacrifice. From then on, every world in the galaxy celebrated a new day every year called the Day of the Vow. It wasn't about victory or war. It was about remembering the promise that humans made, to protect life at any cost. And so every year people looked up at the stars and whispered the same words that had once been heard across the galaxy. Humanity stands for life. Always. Some said that on those nights, the quiet sector glowed a little brighter, as if the sleeping humans were smiling in their long slumber, proud of the peace they had left behind. But the galaxy knew one thing for sure. If ever darkness came again, if another rift opened, the humans would awaken. And when they did, the universe would once more see the light of the horizon's vow, blazing across the stars, carrying the same unbreakable spirit that had once saved them all. And so, even as centuries passed, their legend lived on, not as a story of war, but as a reminder that in the vast silence of space, there once was a species that refused to give up, a species that stood for every life, every world, and every hope: humanity. Centuries passed quietly after the Day of the Vow became a tradition across the galaxy. Every year, billions of beings from every world looked up at the stars and remembered humanity, the species that had once stood alone against the darkness. The story of the Horizon's Vow had turned into legend. Some believed it was just a myth, a tale told to keep hope alive, but others knew deep down that it was real. They could feel it in the silence of space, in the faint hum that sometimes touched the edges of their transmissions, like a heartbeat in the void. The galaxy had changed. Once filled with greed and endless wars, it had become more peaceful. Not perfect, but better. Empires had learned to cooperate. Scientists from different worlds shared discoveries, and traders traveled freely between systems that had once been enemies. All of this began because of humanity's sacrifice. Their final words, "Humanity stands for life always," had become more than just a message. They were the foundation of a new era, but peace never lasts forever. It was a quiet morning on the planet Varel, one of the oldest member worlds of the Galactic Council, when the first strange reading appeared. The sky shimmered faintly, even though it was clear. Satellites began to lose power for a few seconds. At first, scientists thought it was just solar interference. But when the same thing happened across 3 different systems, They realized it wasn't a normal event. Something was returning. Within a week, small ripples in space began forming near the outer edges of the galaxy. They weren't large enough to be dangerous, but they looked eerily familiar. The same type of energy that once came from the rift, the same readings the humans had fought against, was back. Only this time it wasn't coming from one place. It was appearing everywhere all at once. The council called an emergency meeting. Fear spread quickly. The oldest members remembered what had happened last time. But now there were no humans to call for help. The chairperson stood in silence before the assembly and said softly, "If the humans were here, they would not panic. They would act. We must do the same." And so the galaxy prepared. Fleets were formed, energy shields strengthened, and every scientist was ordered to study the strange readings. They tried everything: mathematical models, containment waves, even reverse energy charges, but nothing worked. The rifts kept growing, tiny but spreading like cracks in glass. Then one night, an ancient satellite orbiting the quiet sector suddenly activated. It hadn't sent a signal for hundreds of years. Its message was short and simple, but it shook the galaxy. "The Guardians will return when the stars call again." The scientists couldn't explain it. The message came from human code, but the satellite's systems were too old to still function. Yet somehow it had powered itself back on. Hope sparked again. Maybe the humans were still out there, watching, waiting. Soon after, more signs began to appear. In deep space, far beyond known sectors, travelers reported seeing flashes of light that looked like ships moving faster than physics allowed. One freighter pilot even claimed that a giant shadow passed by his vessel, silent and massive, shaped exactly like the horizon's vow. The council didn't know what to believe, but they sent scouts anyway. None found anything, just starlight and empty space. Weeks later, the growing rifts began to pulse with strange energy. Each pulse caused minor gravity waves that disrupted communications and travel. People grew scared. The peace humanity had inspired was beginning to crack. On some worlds, rumors spread that the end was coming. Then one night, when the galaxy's skies shimmered with energy storms, a transmission broke through every communication channel at once. It wasn't from any planet, station, or ship. It came from nowhere and everywhere. "We told you not to fear the dark." Every screen flickered. The voice was calm, strong, and unmistakably human. The light never died. "We only waited until you were ready." Suddenly, across the rift lines, hundreds of signatures appeared. Massive energy readings, all human. The horizon's vow was among them, shining brighter than ever. Around it were newer ships, larger and more advanced, their designs beyond anything the council had ever seen. The humans had returned. The entire galaxy froze. For the first time in hundreds of years, they were seeing humans again, but not as they remembered them. Their ships glowed with a calm, almost living energy. They weren't just machines anymore. It was as if human technology and nature had become one. The council sent an urgent message. "We thought you were gone. We thought you sacrificed everything." A gentle pause came before the reply. "We did, but life has a way of returning. We are not as we were. We are what comes after." No one understood what that meant, but they didn't need to. The humans didn't waste time explaining. Their ships moved quickly toward the growing rifts, forming the same formation that had once saved the galaxy. Their presence alone stabilized nearby space. It was like they had become part of the universe itself, able to bend its energy with their will. As they worked, the galaxy watched. Entire worlds gathered around screens, seeing the humans once again holding the line. But this time something was different. They weren't fighting against the rifts, they were transforming them. The violent energy fields began turning into stable light zones, glowing softly like nebulae. The humans were healing space. Days passed as their ships worked tirelessly. Every rift they closed released waves of beautiful colors across the stars. People cried as they watched. For centuries, humanity had been a legend, a story of sacrifice. Now they were living proof of what courage and compassion could create. Finally, after many days, the last rift closed. Space grew calm again. But before the humans left, one final transmission reached every world, every ship, every being in the galaxy. "You kept our promise alive. You built peace. That is all we ever wanted. The light belongs to all of you now." The horizon's vow turned slowly toward the quiet sector, its engines glowing faintly. It began to move away, leading the rest of the human fleet back into the distant stars. Some called out begging them to stay, but they didn't answer. "We will return when we are needed. Until then, keep the light." Those were their final words. The fleet vanished beyond the galactic rim, leaving behind trails of soft light that shimmered for days before fading into the void. After their departure, the galaxy changed again, but this time not from fear or sadness. It was from inspiration. Every world, every civilization began to live differently. Science advanced faster than ever before, guided by the principles humans had taught them: balance, unity, and the value of all life. The Council built a great monument on the moon where the first message from humanity had been received centuries ago. It was called the Pillar of the Vow. On it, carved in dozens of languages, were the words that had changed the galaxy forever. Humanity stands for life. Always. Every year, people from across the stars came to visit. They laid flowers, placed symbols, and shared stories about how humanity had saved their ancestors. The monument wasn't just stone. It was a reminder of what they could be when they stood together. Many years later, a young explorer flying near the galactic edge noticed something unusual. In the distance, beyond all charts, a faint light flickered, steady and warm like a beacon calling out to the universe. He smiled, knowing what it was. He turned off his engines, floated quietly, and whispered the words his grandparents once taught him. "Thank you for keeping your promise." And in that silent moment, the light grew brighter for just a heartbeat, as if answering him. Then it faded again, disappearing into the stars. No one could say for sure if the humans still watched from beyond, but everyone believed they did. Because every time danger threatened, every time the galaxy stood on the edge of fear, the stars would shimmer faintly, and peace would follow soon after. It was as if humanity's presence still lingered, gentle but powerful, guiding the universe like unseen guardians. And so, the story continued, not as an ending, but as a beginning. Because as long as someone remembered, as long as someone whispered those words into the night, the spirit of humanity would never fade. They had proven once and for all that true strength didn't come from weapons or power. It came from the heart, from the courage to stand for life, even when facing the endless dark. And somewhere far beyond the stars, the horizon's vow still journeyed on, its light shining softly, carrying the promise that had once saved a galaxy, and would, if ever needed again, save it once more.